Alright, Dave, I'm going to make you a video real quick. Maybe this will explain things a little. From your video, what I was looking at, it looks like what you have is the PCI Express plug from the power supply plugged into that little 4-pin. Now let me show you. If you look, let's see, this one right here, that's going to be your 4-pin. Alright, now I'm doing this with my camera on my phone, so it's going to be a little jerky. Now the plug you're talking about is going to be that guy right there. Okay, little 4-pin. Alright, I don't know if you can see that. What's it say on the side? P2 is what it's going to say. Okay, that right there goes for your processor, which is going to be underneath this big block right here. I just got it buried so you can't see it. Now this system right here is an old ass Dell Dimension 2100, okay? Now, you showed the two plugs that you had from your power supply, okay? And then you showed your new one. Now, this is an old power supply. You can tell by looking. It's got bare wires. It's got these Molex plugs up here that go into the DVD. You got one down here for the hard drive. Old IDE cable, nobody uses this shit no more. Okay, so now, your power adapter that you're talking about, it's going to be different down here on these Dells. They're all crap. So, this plug right here, that is going to power the processor. You have to have this. On Pentium class system, you have to have this 4-pin right here, otherwise your computer, your power supply, cannot draw the right amps that it needs in order to start this system and keep it running. You're going to end up getting what's called a no post. That's what your system's doing. You're not posting. So that's on an old system. You're just going to plug it down in here, lock it in place. Ta-da. Now, this is my system. I'm leaving it down here because it's a beast. It's huge, and I'm not going to pull it out. Hell with that. I like you, but not that much. Okay, so let's get under here. You'll see these braided cables right here, okay? This is the kind of power supply you've got. This is a new power supply. Old, new, alright? Now if you look back here, that 4-pin I showed you on the Dell, this is it, right there. Just like the original one that you had, that's what it looks like. Some motherboards only have the 4-pin still, but your plug is a 6-pin. All you do is offset it. Or inside here, this one doesn't do it, but it breaks away. It's got two on there that will actually slide off, okay? Get that in there. And now when I say PCI Express, that's this right here for my graphics card. Let me unplug it. Okay, so there you go. Same set of pins that you have up there for that, right? Well, it's got this little piece that comes off of here. Now, normally, hang on just a second. I can't do it because I'm holding it with one hand. This will be affixed to this piece here on the back side. So it actually turns it into an 8-pin. All you do is break it off. You pull that off, separate it. That's your PCI Express plug. Now, your P4 plug, which is up here, if you look at that, on the outside of it, it's not going to say anything. It doesn't say shit. Alright? So there's your pins. 2, 4, 6. Alright? That's going to take 8 of them. If you look, I don't worry about the voltage. You got to worry about the way that it sits over here in this little plug right there. Okay? So you got your 8-pin. And you get your 6-pin, which is also an 8-pin when you break this little piece off. Now, if you look at the two of these and set them side by side, they damn near almost look identical. Not much of a difference, minus the pins. So if you take these and put it back on there for your 8-pin and compare it to that 8-pin, they're almost identical. Now the PCI Express on the outside of it, flip it over, it's going to say PCIe. That's for PCI Express. that's going to power graphics card ports, like that right there. Now if you look at that port, and then you look at that port there, they're similar. They're only off by 2. But the problem that you have is on the old motherboards, you have that 4-pin, and on old motherboards, that adapter right there that powers the power supply is going to be a 4-pin. Now, some power supplies on PCI Express, the old original ones, take the same kind of plug because voltages were lower back then. So you've got a 4-pin PCI Express, you've got a 4-pin what's called power adapter or Pentium adapter for the processor, which is going to be this one here. I've got a newer motherboard and a newer power supply, so it's a 6-pin. What I think, just from looking, it's hard to tell because of the video, what you did is you took your old power supply plug, just looking at it, common sense, which I would have done the exact same thing, but I've been doing this for 20 years. That on the old one, and PCI Express on the new one, they look really, really similar. Okay, so inside there, I can't see how many empty plugs you got, but if you look up here, I've got all my other ones tucked up. That one right there, hard drive, that's for a floppy drive, which I don't use. And then I've got some more empty ones back here, but there's an extra PCI Express right there I don't have plugged up and I'm not using for anything. So, go through your cables and look, and you might have another one of these in there, which is for the P4. Newer power supplies like yours, because it's got this black wrap on the outside of it, should have a plug marking that will say PCIe. If it says PCIe, that's the wrong one. So, as long as it's got a pin set like that, don't worry about these wires per se because they cross over. They cross over back down in here. All you got to do is make sure that the plugs, and I know this shit's blurry, I'm sorry. You got to make sure that those plugs that are in there match up with that hole right there. And then you're going to just snap it in, and it's going to work. If I can get it in there. There's one. And then here's the other one that's going to go in here. But here's the thing. If you have a PCI Express card, you've got a video card that takes one of these plugs, and you don't plug it in and try to power up the computer, you get no video. Your system's not posting. So I think what your problem is going to be is it's going to be this plug right here that you've got plugged up that you cut and spliced. It almost to me looks like you have a PCI Express plug, this one right here, in place of this one here. So go through your wire cables up here, the junk that you got left over, and look at these plugs and see if you've got an empty one. If you've got one that is like that, that's empty, put that in that spot, hit the power button, and it should boot right up. If that doesn't do it, then it's hard to say whether or not the wrong voltage would have zapped that board. I was looking at your diodes. This doesn't have it. This board actually has what are called sealed caps. These down here. Real tiny and they're real short. Yours has these fat ass things. In your other video when I said to check your diodes and resistors, these are what I was talking about. If you look at the top of them, where that little cross is at that's on there, see if I can zoom in on it. It's got like a little X mark across the top. If you look at it real close, they're going to be swollen. They'll be bulged up, sticking up above the top of that. If they are, your motherboard's shit. You need to change it out. End of discussion. I think, honestly, if you got another power supply that you can try, that just might do you. You might not have to replace that motherboard because I think it's this plug right here that goes to the power supply. Not 100% positive, but that's what it's looking like to me. I think it's a mix-up between your P4 connector and your PCI Express connector. So, let me know if that does you any good. Like I said, it's hard to see in the video. Not positive that's what it's going to be, but I'm pretty sure that's what it is. It's going to be the power supply. As you can see, I just went to CompUSA today, and I blew $700. So, Brand new nice Core i7, new motherboard, 16 gigs of RAM, cases downstairs in the car. I'm getting ready to build a monster Hackintosh with 32 gigs of RAM. Replace this one right here. There's nothing wrong with that system. I need to upgrade. So let me know if that does you any help. Hopefully it does. I don't think it's going to be your motherboard. If you look on your motherboard, down on the bottom, like I told you yesterday, you take your pliers or a screwdriver, whatever you did, how you cross those pins without that plug on, you can turn the system on. If that works, the chances are the motherboard's still good. Okay, should have a light on it. On older systems like that, at least from Foxconn, the Foxconn motherboards, which this is a Foxconn motherboard right here. It's got an Intel chipset. It's in a Dell, but it was manufactured by Foxconn, which is pretty much the same board that you've got in your system. It's just a little bit older. The boards have a light on it. On the back of it, if you look down here where your Pentium connector is at for your power, you should be able to see that little LED. You got a green light right there. When you power that thing on, that should light up. If that lights up, then you most likely are good. You're not going to have to replace your motherboard. I would look seriously at that connector that you've got that you snipped, because I think what happened is that because of the old board that's in it and the new power supply, you've got 2 pins missing that really, on a newer motherboard, they would be there, but on your older motherboard, they're not going to be there. So if you can, I don't know how much slack you've got left over from it, what I would do, I would strip them off, and I would put those back on. Resplice it, and then put your heat shrink on it if you want to. But get those back in the way that it was. When you go to plug it in, offset it just a little bit. If you offset it, instead of trying to fit it in the 4-pin, which your old motherboards have a 4-pin, your new ones are going to have sometimes a, let's see, 2, 4, 6, they'll have 6 or an 8-pin, okay? So your old motherboard's going to have a 4-pin connector, but your new power supply is going to have a 6-pin or an 8-pin, which is why you snipped it. Put that back on there, splice it back together, and then just offset it. It's only going to go on one way. It's still going to go on the same way because of the tab that's on the back of that plug. Keep it on that way, but offset it. Just move it over 2 places, to the left or to the right, and that should do you. You might be able to get that running without having to replace your power supply again. And that's about all I got, so let me know if that works for you, buddy.